The FISA spying on Team Trump began in late October 2016. But the FBI knew it had a problem. Its whole case rested on the credibility of the Steele Dossier, which had never been corroborated. 3 months after the spying began, the FBI found and interviewed the main source for the dossier. Could he corroborate it? That's the focus of this report. The illegal spying on Team Trump was based on the dossier assembled by Christopher Steele. Steele relied on someone identified as the primary subsource for the information in the dossier. The FBI interviewed that person in January 2017. But the 57-page summary of the interview was not declassified and made public until July 2020. During 3 days of questioning in January 2017, the primary subsource demolished the credibility of both Steele and his dossier. But the FBI kept that fact a secret, and it stayed a secret for nearly 3 years. The true story was hidden in the pages of this FBI summary of the interview, written by the intel analyst. The facts only came to light after the memo was analyzed by investigators for the Inspector General at the Justice Department. The FBI's interview team covered up the primary subsource's story, a story that should have immediately stopped all the spying, but didn't. The identity of the primary subsource was a secret until mid-2020.
We have this breaking news this morning as the subsource of the dossier, Igor Danchenko, has been unmasked. Tell me about this subsource.
The FBI led Congress to believe that, and the media led Congress to believe, and they led the American public to believe, that somehow Steele had this really super secret source that nobody could know about. Well, it ends up that he used to work for the Brookings Institute. It looks like there were a lot of connections to the Brookings Institute, which for those of your viewers who don't know what this is like the prominent left-wing think tank here in our nation's capital.
I always assumed the Russian subsource was some guy in Russia deep in the bowels of the Kremlin feeding this stuff to Christopher Steele. The subsource was a senior Russian researcher at the Brookings Institute and an employee of Christopher Steele living in the United States.
Danchenko was born and raised in Russia. He went to college there, came to the United States for graduate school. He lives and works in Washington, D.C. He was interviewed at the FBI's Washington field office. Danchenko shredded the credibility of the dossier, but that assessment can't be found anywhere in this 57-page summary of the interview. Not even a hint. Instead, the intel analyst composed a difficult-to-follow memo. Parts of it are perfectly opaque. This memo is written in such a way so as to discourage anyone from reading very much of it. Make no mistake about it. The FBI buried Danchenko's story in January 2017, and it stayed buried until the IG's investigators exposed it in December 2019. Page 187 of the IG report states, the primary subsource says there is zero corroboration of the information in the dossier.
What did the subsource say specifically? As your report goes on to say, it says Steele misstated or exaggerated multiple sections of the reporting.
What does the Russian guy tell the FBI about the dossier? That Steele misstated or exaggerated the prime subsource's statements?
The FBI kept Igor Danchenko's comments secret for nearly 3 years. The truth was hidden in this 57-page summary of the interview. It was sent to several people at the FBI. Who received it? What did they do with it? Did anybody tell the FISA Court that Danchenko blew a hole in the government's case? Details on that in our next episode. This is John Spiropoulos reporting.